Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic, and I want to welcome you to my channel, Opinion Stated, where I give unfiltered, opinionated sports takes. Let's go.
Lucid.
Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic. I want to welcome you back to my channel, Opinion Stated. It has been about 2 weeks since my last episode was uploaded. It was a 2025 NBA playoff preview. This one, or actually, I uploaded a song that I created just a few days ago. But this is the first actual episode, and this episode I'm excited about. I had plans to record a lot of content during this first round of the NBA playoffs over the last few weeks, but as you can see, the background has changed slightly. So I'm in a new home studio space, just kind of still filling it out. I'll be adding some soundproofing, etc., in here to take away the echo. So hopefully that's not too disturbing here as we go throughout the editing process. But nevertheless, I'm excited to be bringing this episode to you. Before we jump into this content, do me a huge favor, like the video. Liking the video helps us cruise along Algorithm Avenue, helps us get into the presence of individuals just like yourself who might be interested in this kind of content. Also, subscribe to the channel. Subscribing keeps you in the loop as to when new episodes are uploaded and we get this content off. I'm incredibly excited about this episode, in which I am going to entitle NBA Playoff First Round at a Glance. So I'm just going to kind of in recap fashion go through the series here, or the series as that have taken place. And, just kind of give some highlights and tidbits, not necessarily show highlights, but just kind of talk through some of my takeaways from those series. If you haven't checked out the 2025 preview show, you would have heard me say some things in that episode that actually have come to fruition here in this episode. But you can watch this one and then go back and watch that one and be like, dang, he was right, based on what, like the present landscape of what's happening in these playoffs. All of that to say, they essentially played out exactly as I thought that they would. And I said as much in that episode, which I'll repeat here in this episode. I will say before we dive into the content, though, that, man, these playoffs, if you are an actual basketball fan, these playoffs have not disappointed. I haven't seen any ratings data as of yet, but I know that these playoffs have to be ranked, like the first round has to be ranked like incredibly high through like historical numbers for the last maybe 10 to 15 years. This is a really, really, really intriguing first round. And these matchups, as they say, styles make fights. And so these matchups have been so good that you know what I mean? Like it's created some great basketball to view. So first and foremost, I want to take a look at, this number 8 seed matchup in the Eastern Conference. The class of the Eastern Conference being the Cleveland Cavaliers clean swept the number 8 seed Miami Heat, who fought through play-in to get the number 8 seed rather, and to face off against Cleveland respectfully in this series. So, man, they get mollywopped, they got dog walked, they got stomped on like we expected to. I expected them to get swept in this series because Cleveland is just, motherfuckers are good, bro. Cleveland is good. They are as advertised. It is. I don't know what else to say about them. Even after the trades were made, and I talked about how the trades that they made, or the trade that they made bringing in Hunter, was like such a good acquisition for them. Even though I'm a fan of Karis LeVert, but DeAndre Hunter is, he added a bit more, obviously, of just outside touch. Karis LeVert's a bucket; he can get to the basket whenever he won, mid-range game, all of that. But DeAndre Hunter added a bit more defensive prowess, and also a bit more long-range prowess, and that was like firepower coming off the bench that was desperately needed, not just from an offensive standpoint, but also from a defensive standpoint. So, that, in addition to how big Evan Mobley played, Jared Allen played immensely well in that series versus the Miami Heat. And Tyler Hero for the most part was like a no-show. You know what I'm saying? Like he and Bam, I guess, and the rest of the team did the best that they could, but it's time for some revamping in Miami. Cleveland definitely stomped on those boys, man. Donovan Mitchell and the folks. I appreciate the job that Kenny Atkinson has been doing with this team and this personnel. Man, they look fucking good, bro. So it's on to the second round for them after a clean sweep of the Miami Heat. Next up, and the other, clear across Western in the Western Conference, clear across country rather, or the opposing conference, you get the number one seed, number 1-8 matchup, 1 seed versus 8 seed, which was the Memphis Grizzlies taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder, the number one team in the entire NBA this season, class of the actual NBA in the regular season being the Oklahoma City Thunder, and just like I expected, they got swept too, clean sweep. You know what I mean throughout the series, so they wouldn't take a game off of Oklahoma City, unfortunately, or fortunately for us. I don't even know that it's so much that I expected Memphis or whomever play. But I thought it was going to be Memphis. I wanted it to be Memphis, but I'm not saying that I expected them to win. Not even win the game. So it's not so much that they lost; it's how they lost. They got the shit beat out. I mean, just like, man, Oklahoma City, man, just stomped these boys out. I mean, they beat them, like, I mean, just to a pulp, bloody pulp. Nolo Contandra just I mean, the stuffing out of these kids, man. They wouldn't even relent. They just would not let up. Just smoke these kids every game. So shout out to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and the rest of the bunch, man. They played well. And on to the second round they go. We'll get into those second round matchups here in just a second. Next up, the number two seed in the Eastern Conference, kind of flip flopping here, took on the Orlando Magic, the 7 seed Orlando Magic, who fought through play-in as well, to make the playoffs, and they squared off against the Boston Celtics. At least Orlando will be able to take one game off of Boston. But man, Boston is tough. I mean, just top to bottom, their bench even, with depth, they were just obviously too much for Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero. But, nevertheless, a gentleman sweep in this series, JT and the boys. My biggest concern at this point for Boston is that Jaylen Brown is kind of, laboring through with this knee injury or whatever it is. And given their depth, it's not really that big of a deal. It's just that, man, obviously with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, like everybody being 100% healthy, it just almost makes Boston unbeatable in a sense. You know what I mean? Like, even though they're just the defending champions from last year, not just the defending champions, but if they weren't like the number one seed in the Eastern Conference this season, or after the regular season, or the best team in the entire NBA. I feel like I said this in the last episode. I almost feel like they, being Boston, kind of played possum, this year. They just been kind of pacing themselves because they know what it's going to take here in the playoffs to, turn it on and really leave it all on the court. So I felt like they just kind of coasted through the regular season to a degree, personally, just from what I was watching. And it remains to be seen, obviously, through the rest of these playoffs. But yeah, again, my concern is just the health. However, I was going on to say, just like last season, it was Porzingis who was kind of in and out of the lineup through the playoffs, and they were still able to win. Maybe this year it's Porzingis' turn to kind of help to carry the load to be the number two for JT, where JB is maybe potentially not able to give his all. But Drew Holiday played well in that series versus Orlando, came in and hit some pivotal shots. I know, just adding his veteran presence and his floor generalship, and Derek White, obviously, Peyton Pritchard and some of those guys off the bench, man. It was amazing to kind of watch, how just kind of watch them in action, rather, I'll say, and how they were able to execute and pull off those victories. So, um, yeah, better luck to Orlando next season. You know what I mean? Better luck to Orlando. I think that with their injuries, from earlier in the season, Paolo went down, Franz went down also. They also lost Mo Wagner and Anthony Black, I believe, has some issues, and a few other players just like kind of in and out of the lineup. I mean, I think that kind of put a damper on their season. However, better luck next year, and we'll see how it goes with that next year for them. Boston moves on to the next round. Again, we'll get into those matchups here in just a second. But it was a decent set of games. Next up, the Indiana Pacers in the 4-5 matchup took on the Milwaukee Bucks, and I did not expect a gentleman sweep in this series at all. And so a lot of really interesting or exciting things that happened, some heartbreaking things that happened in this series. Exciting news, came down the pike that Dame was cleared to play in the series after being diagnosed with a deep vein thrombosis. I was concerned for Dame's health, which I expressed in the last episode. I was concerned for his health because I'm like, man, the blood thinners and like all this stuff. Like, is he actually healthy enough to play? Not from us, just because he got cleared by the doctor, but I'm saying because of the blood thinners and all that stuff is typically like I understand from my understanding and what I researched, it typically takes, anywhere from 6 to 12 months just to get yourself back, into functioning at a high workout, you know what I mean? Like kind of a level. So for a professional athlete, I'm like, I think he's going to need all that time. And, well, I was wrong about that, but unfortunately, he'd then go on to rupture his Achilles during the series, and well, they got gentlemen swept. Indiana Pacers putting that work on those boys, man. It's tough sledding for Giannis, and it has been since they won a championship and just kind of blew up their entire championship roster, including firing Coach Bud, which I still don't understand. He was saying Giannis wanted him out, whatever. He's reaping the rewards of being a superstar that's calling coach getting fired shots. You know what I mean? So Indiana moves on to the next round. Again, put in major work, on these guys. Um, it wasn't even pretty. You know what I mean? Like the last game in that game 5, I think what was most interesting was that Gary Trent stepped up, man, and hit so many big shots. Gary Trent was responsible for actually helping them win the one game that they took off of Indiana. But in the final game, Gary Trent, man, he was just unconscious from behind the 3-point line. And it was really interesting to watch how at the end of the game, he had like 2 turnovers that cost him the game. And it's just like, man, you're a hero for a couple minutes or little stretches. And then all of a sudden the bottom falls out of the thing, man. It's just, my heart went out to Gary because I'm like, bro, it's going to be a long summer having to continue to think about and replay how that thing ended for the Pacers, or how the season ended for the Bucks. So they fall to the Bucks in a gentleman's sweep 4-1. The Bucks move on to the next round. Next up, the Lakers and the TWolves, man. Next up, the Lakers and the TWolves. Interestingly enough, LeBron and the LA Lucas celebrated, heavily touted in the media, the whole nine. Lakers in 5, Lakers in 5, Lakers in 5. Everybody expecting, and when I say everybody, I mean everybody in the mainstream media. I don't recall hearing anybody in the mainstream media. When I say mainstream, I'm talking specifically ESPN's like the first takes on FS1, from Speak to, the facility to, you know what I mean? Like any of the shows in the mainstream. I didn't hear any of these pundits saying, nope, Minnesota's going to take this series. None of them. Everybody, NBA Today with Malika Andrews and Perk and all, everybody, every single one of them was like the Lakers. LeBron James. Can't count out LeBron James. Can't bet against LeBron James. Like, what? And to me, in my opinion, I thought Minnesota was the better team. And I think that it proved itself on the court as it played out, because Minnesota would gentlemen sweep LeBron and the LA Lucas right on out of the playoffs. Right on out of the playoffs, bro. And so I had some fun with this because of all the sports pundits and all the silliness and stuff in group chat and like the whole nine. And so I made a song, where I wrote a song about it. Like, here you go.
Truth sounds like hate to people that's not trying to hear it.
When Luka playing like that, we got go James. It don't matter. It don't matter. Bron James, Luka Doncic, Lakers in 5.
Do they have a chance? Are they a legitimate contender? 1,000%.
Yeah, I think so. Right.
Lakers in 5. Lakers in 5. Lakers in 5.
This is how it's supposed to go.
Lakers in 5. Lakers in 5. Lakers in 5.
TWolves beat the Lakers in 5. TWolves beat the Lakers in 5. Don't trust the mainstream media, they lie. TWolves beat the Lakers in 5.
How about this? How would do you like this here? Serge Ibaka, Chewbacca, Waka Flocka. Lakers in 5. You can say SGA, PGA, USA. Lakers in 5. Lakers in 5. Lakers in 5. Lakers in 5.
You're not supposed to be here, so.
Lakers in 5. Lakers in 5. Lakers in 5.
Feel bad for the Lakers.
TWolves beat the Lakers in 5. TWolves beat the Lakers in 5. Don't trust the mainstream media, they lie. TWolves beat the Lakers in 5.
You can say SGA, PGA, USA. Lakers in 5. Guess what, Stephen A? The Thunder, a Boost Mobile Bundle, WWE Royal Rumble. Lakers in 5. Lakers in 5. Lakers in 5.
They still got the Lakers.
Lakers in 5. Lakers in 5. Lakers in 5. When Luka playing like that, we got go James. It don't matter. It don't matter. Bron James, Luka Doncic, Lakers in 5.
TWolves beat the Lakers in 5. TWolves beat the Lakers in 5. Don't trust the mainstream media, they lie. TWolves beat the Lakers in 5.
So, man, yeah, bro. Like, it's been interesting for the last couple of days. This was just like 2-3 days ago when this series ended. But to watch all these pundits or listen to them eating crow, man, like after the fact, now all of a sudden, you know, the Lakers didn't have enough. The roster wasn't complete. The roster was incomplete. JJ still did a great job. And by the way, just to get this on record in this episode for historical purposes, in case, man, maybe 20 years from now, somebody's, you know, seeking specific information as it pertains to this 2025 matchup. in one of the games, I want to say it was game 4 of this series. Yeah, game 4. JJ decided to play his starting 5 the entire second half, never giving any one of them a break. Not any time on the bench, not any time, you know, just to sit and to catch their breath and to regather their thoughts and their faculties. He played them for the entirety of the second half. And you know, quite honestly, I think that JJ did a decent job as a head coach this year. He's not coaching the team by himself. He's head coach, so he's figurehead, but he still had a staff of Scott Brooks and Nate McMillan and some of these other people they've actually coached for years, been a head coach for years in the NBA. So his staff and his personnel obviously was able to help him in a lot of ways. Maybe give him some insights, etc. And, you know, they bear some of the brunt of, you know, its coaching as a whole when it comes to, you know, the faux pas made and decision making. But yeah, this was clearly even in game 5, they only played like literally an 8-man rotation. So only 8 players touched the court. But likewise for Minnesota, only 8 players touched the court. So you know, for I guess, you know, he and Coach Finch from Minnesota kind of did the same thing in that regard. And so that's not specifically the reason I want to say what I'm going to say, just kind of prefacing it, I guess. But I feel like JJ's inexperience, you know, reared his head a lot in this series, and I think it proved the point that most of us were making in the beginning. Like you just can't have a person learn on the fly how to coach in the NBA. It's disrespectful. It's as disrespectful as having Bronny just join the team when he wasn't ready. JJ wasn't ready either. You know what I mean? So the Lakers are just, man, whatever. They're kind of the poster child this year for just throwing, you know what I mean, somebody in the mix and just hoping for the best, even as they did Luka mid-season. But notwithstanding, the next matchup being the Knicks and the Pistons. Man, the Knicks and the Pistons, I thought was going to go 7 games. I literally said in that last episode, maybe I could book this for 7 because I felt like they just matched up so well. You know, this young Detroit Pistons team and also this New York Knicks team. Jalen Brunson suffered a nasty ankle sprain like maybe about a month before the playoffs started. So I was happy to see him come back and be, you know, kind of a few games to get, his legs back under him and to get back into rhythm and into flow. However, you know, this series should have gone 7 games. Like this series should have gone 7 games, and it was such an entertaining series to watch. At the end of, I believe, Game 3, Tim Hardaway Jr. was fouled at the buzzer shooting a 3, and the refs didn't call it, and only to go back in the in-game report and say, "Hey, man, look, upon further review, we noticed that was a foul that should have been called." And unfortunately, that doesn't reverse the win, you know, or the loss. Take the loss from Detroit and give it to New York. So, man, that one game like literally cost them, because this Game 6 that we just witnessed a few days ago would have been the game that tied the series, not of the series 3-3. So we'd be getting a Game 7 possibly today. But unfortunately, it didn't work out that way, man. Cade Cunningham balled out. And this kid he is a baller, bro. This kid can ball. He showed up. The spotlight was not too bright for him. This kid definitely has a bright future ahead of him as an NBA or professional basketball player. But man, I appreciate how he rose to the occasion. Speaking of rising to the occasion, and Jalen Brunson, people should put some respect on Jalen's name, bro. This dude is a fucking animal. He's an animal. I think he went down several times in this series and had to grabbing his ankle or holding a knee or doing something that sent him to the back where, I don't know, they gave him something bionic or, you know what I mean? Like something to swallow. I don't know, pause, but I'm saying, you know what I mean? Like, man, the dude just came back out with a cape on, you know what I'm saying? Like really being that guy. So, man, Jalen definitely earned his stripes in this series, continuing his playoff play just for the last couple seasons. Since he was in Dallas, like this dude just steps up and plays so big in the playoffs, but he played big all year as well. So the Knicks move on to round number 2. We'll get into the matchups here in just a second. Let's talk about a couple Game 7s. We got the Denver Nuggets and the Clippers. Nuggets and the Clippers being that 4-5 seed matchup in the West. I knew that this one was going to go 7. I called that this one will go 7 also in the last episode because they're just, you know, again, kind of evenly matched in terms of personnel, top to bottom, superstar power, whole 9. A few years back, the Clippers were being touted as the deepest team because of their bench in the league. And I don't know that they go that deep, but Zubac has gotten significantly better. He's been holding his own against Jokic, man, playing, I mean, incredibly against Jokic. And, the series is now at 3-3. James Harden started out really, really, really fiery in the series, playing like the James Harden from the regular season and the playoffs. And then these last couple of games, I just feel like he's kind of regressed a little. Kawhi Leonard came out of the gate looking like the old Kawhi, like from about 5 seasons ago, just looking, I mean, just impeccably from the mid-range game to, you know, the you know, shooting from deep to, you know, how he was just getting his going to the basket. Just looking outstanding. You know what I mean? Like even field goal percentage shooting wise, I know like one game he shot like 75% or something like that from the field. And dropped nearly a 40 piece. So, man, just really, really good. But Denver obviously has been fighting back in the series, and they've been exchanging blows. Jokic just being Jokic, but definitely getting more of a more input, I'll say, from Russell Westbrook, which is super dope to see. Jamal Murray's been playing out of his mind too. So yeah, kudos to them and props to them. And it should be a very good game. It's going to be televised today. It is presently Saturday morning as I record this episode, so that game hasn't come on yet. Man, I can't wait to see it. Should definitely be worth the watch. Continuing this excitement for the first round. Last but not least, the other matchup in the West, now that at 3-3 going to a game 7, is the 7-2 seed matchup, 2 seed, 7 seed matchup, which sees the Golden State Warriors face off against the Houston Rockets. Houston Rockets being the number 2 seed. And again, the parity was so close in the leagues. There's so much parity, especially in the West, that I didn't think that the seeding really meant much. The Golden State Warriors jumped out to like a 3-1 lead here, or maybe 3-2, lead here. So I thought that they had an opportunity to close out the series last night, but they didn't close out the series. And what I feel like they've been allowing to happen is they've been allowing this young Houston Rockets team to hang around enough. Number one, that it creates fatigue for the older roster and older personnel of Golden State, but also instills confidence in these young boys. And they play with the personality of Ime Udoka, who, if you remember Ime when he was in the league, man, Ime wasn't taking no shit. He was a hard-nosed player. You know what I mean? Like a really, scrappy and tough, defender and offensive player. So they've taken on his personality in a lot of ways. I would like to see young Jalen Green just take a step forward offensively. He has just been struggling, man. And you can see his youth and inexperience showing up for certain in this moment. The stage definitely just seems like it's a little bit too big for him. But he'll hopefully grow into more of, his star role with the Houston Rockets. Not a superstar just yet, not until you take that step and, kind of take the bull by the horn and show that you deserve that title. But certainly he has another game to do so. So this game 7 takes place on Sunday. The Rockets versus the Warriors. So it should definitely be worth the watch as well. Got some exciting games taking place this weekend. Those two that I just mentioned specifically being the Denver Nuggets and the LA Clippers tonight, and then the Rockets and the Warriors tomorrow. Last but not least, I want to take a look at the Eastern Conference bracket and how things shake out. Just to recap really quick, as we said, Cleveland won the series 4-0. The clean sweep. Indiana beat the Bucks in the series, gentleman sweep 4-1. New York wins the series 4-2 over the Pistons, and Boston won over the Orlando Magic and a gentleman sweep also 4-1. So that'll, with those results, it will obviously lead to Cleveland taking on the Indiana Pacers, the number 1 seed versus the number 4 seed, Indiana Pacers. And this series should be really, really, really good as well. Really intriguing series. Do I expect the Pacers to get swept in this series? I do not. I think that the Pacers get at least 2 games in this series. At least 2 games in this series, but at the least they'll get 1. You know what I mean? And I don't expect it to go 7. If this series goes 7, I'll be mind blown. I don't mind coming back in an episode saying, yo, I was wrong. The Pacers were actually, you know what I mean, like better competition for the Cavaliers than I thought. As for these results in the first round, second round matchup in conference finals, matchup is going to be, or semifinals matchup, the Knicks versus the Celtics, number 3 seed versus the number 2 seed. This Knicks Celtics series, while I expect it to be a good series, I don't expect the Knicks to get swept. I think that Boston is, like I was mentioning, the injury to JB, etc. Boston has kind of looked like they were asleep at the wheel in some, of the matchups that I watched this season. So New York can possibly get 2 games. I think that's what will go 6 also. I think New York will get 2 games off of it, but ultimately, I think that the Celtics will prove to just be, too talented and too deep to actually get them. That Tibbs likes to, run his guys into the ground. He doesn't come off the bench with many people. You'll see literally like an 8-man rotation from them as well. And he brings in a big. He brings in Deuce. He brings in Mikal. Not Mikal Bridges. He brings in Campaign. So you may have like a nine-man rotation or so. You know what I mean, at most. But I mean, I think that the Knicks will fall to the Celtics in that series 4-2. I could be wrong, but we'll see what happens. Next up, let's take a look at the Western Conference playoff bracket as it stands. Again, to recap, the number 1 seed Thunder took on the Grizzlies, the 8 seed Grizzlies, and beat the shit out of them, swept them in that series. Clippers Nuggets is Game 7 tonight. The Lakers, number 3 seed Lakers, will take on the number 6 Timberwolves, and they got beat in 5. TWolves beat the Lakers in 5. So they lost in that series. Minnesota moves on to the semifinals, it's conference semis, and the Rockets Warriors host their Game 7 tomorrow, which is Sunday, and so we know that the Timberwolves have advanced. We know that the Thunder have advanced. Just to start here at the top, in this Nuggets Clippers game, I can't even call who I think is going to win tonight. This is how good these two teams match up, and so I don't even have a prediction for who I think is going to advance. You know what I mean? Like I was kind of searching. I'm just like, who do I think will take it? I think it's a toss up. This is literally a coin flip. Like whomever shows up tonight is you know what I mean, is going to win it. I don't think that any one team is better than the other team. They're like an equal, even matchup. So this should be a good one to see. The Thunder are going to take on the winner of the Nuggets and the Clippers. The T-Wolves haven't already secured their position. They will take on the winner of the Rockets Warriors tomorrow. I want to say I'm leaning more heavily towards the Warriors, obviously. You know what I mean? With Jimmy being in a Golden State uniform now. It's just hard to bet against, you know what I mean, like Steph and those guys. But to be clear, in Game 6, man, it was just like an utter and complete. I don't know. It was almost like Golden State didn't even come out of the locker room after halftime. You know what I mean? It was just like it was weird, man. At one point, they only had like one basket in the fourth quarter. You know, they like 1 for 16 or something crazy. It was ridiculous, and they seemed to just be content to try to knock down threes instead of taking a wide open, you know what I mean, like lane, or just taking a lane to score layups, like almost like mid-range jump shots or layups that don't count. You know what I mean, in their brain, or like they couldn't. I don't know. They couldn't process what was going on enough to understand that like a bucket is a bucket. You know what I mean? And so once Steve Kerr decides to sit the starters, so like the last 2 minutes of the game, you watch like one of the bench players come in and it just went straight to the basket three times, like literally just like straight to the basket, just straight down the middle, just like layups. And I'm like, yeah, like layups count, But anyway, I expect the Warriors to win this game. I just expect the experience to overtake the Rockets, but the Rockets aren't a completely young team, so it's not to be disrespectful. Let me give flowers to Fred VanVleet, who was balled out in the wins to get the Rockets back into the series. VanVleet had like 37, 38 points or something last night, like 28 piece, 29 piece, and like a few other games. So, man, Fred's playing like the veteran that he is, playing like the valued player that he is in the league, respectfully. And so, his leadership, and you know what I mean, like his obviously pulling the team on his back has helped tremendously. Like I said, I would just really like to see Jalen Green step up, and he's through the regular season was the leading scorer on the team. You know what I mean? But if there was any evidence necessary or needed to show that, like, what happens in the regular season ain't, you know what I mean, like what's going to happen in the playoffs, I think you would need to look no further than Jalen Green and also Austin Reeves, who faded to black in that Minnesota Lakers series, like was non-existent. You know what I mean? Like what the fuck happened to Austin Reeves? Like he It was like he didn't even show up for the playoffs at all. You know what I mean? Like, where was he? But it's kind of how I feel about Jalen Green here. Yeah, one great game, and then the rest have just been kind of him figuring it out and contributing slightly, like literally contributing slightly. Offensively, I mean, you know what I mean? So not considering the rebounds, assists that he's gotten to contribute. But man, that's the basis of this episode. I just wanted to kind of recap, go through these matchups. I'm excited for the game tonight, the game tomorrow, and then, you know, kicking off Monday, these conference semifinals to get us to the conference finals and then on to the NBA championship. Leave for me your comment your opinion, of course. If you haven't done so, once again, like the video as well. I look forward to kicking it with you guys in the next episode. Until then, take care of yourselves. Blessings.